See you both. First of all, on the deal with Jackie Lambie, or no deal, what is it? Because it looked like, for all intents and purposes, she was talking about some arrangement with the government yesterday in the Senate and even got emotional about it. What exactly is going on here?
Well, as you know, KG, I'm on the backbench, so I'm not at the forefront of negotiations. That's obviously the preserve of my Senate leadership. And
So far.
Well, I mean, time will tell, right? Time will tell. But look, I mean, I just don't know what sort of discussions transpire. But our policies stand on their own two legs, whether it's on national security or whether it's on economic policies like, you know, the Ensuring Integrity Bill.
So you just voted to support it without knowing what the deal is. That's a bit presumptive, isn't it?
But I mean, our policies stand on their own two legs, and obviously the Ensuring Integrity Bill and the Medivac Bill have been presented in a way that in line with our party's policies.
But didn't your policies just get amended? Didn't Jackie Lambie say in the Senate that she'd put a proposal to the government and she'd only vote for Medivac to be repealed if that proposal was accepted? So doesn't that indicate there's been an amendment to your policy and you voted for that amendment without even knowing what it is?
The bill was passed as it was introduced, so I'm not sure I follow that logic.
Well, she's basically saying that she's having negotiations. The assumption is now, and Andrew Clennell, our colleague, was reporting just before 9 o'clock that his own sources are saying that he's hearing as well about this New Zealand option as being her focus, Jackie Lambie's. So if that's the case, isn't the government changing its policy to the extent that it is pursuing New Zealand? Because up until now, it hasn't.
But like that's a hypothetical.
If that does eventuate.
Well, that's a hypothetical. I mean, clearly, like our policies stand on their own 2 feet. I'm not at the front bench of the Senate, so I don't get involved in those negotiations. And my sense is that the leadership do a very good job.
And the fact is, most people, though, if you're looking at this scenario, this issue, would want it resolved, wouldn't they? I mean, they're not going to watch all the detail of what went on in the Senate like we were yesterday. It was quite a stark difference between what we heard from Lambie and then Senator Cormann, the Senate leader. One sounded like a deal, the other didn't. But, I mean, that's to one side. Most people want this dealt with, don't they? Because it's been an uncertainty for a year.
Well, it was dealt with. It was passed by the Parliament. It's been running for a year, and all of the experts have been saying that it's been a success. It's achieving what it needs to achieve. So this repeal is part of a government pursuing petty grievances from previous parliaments because they've got no agenda. And to this end, Senator Cormann was on Sky this morning at pains not to admit that there is a letter. That there is a letter containing information that what's been agreed to, the secret deal that is circulating the building, but nobody's got a copy of it. No one's fessing up to it. Ultimately, I think the government now has to explain why Australian taxpayers are spending nearly $800 million a year funding the running of the Parliament when they are gagging debate and repealing legislation via secret deals. They are.
But like there was a question yesterday asked in the Senate where the Minister Cormann has taken that on notice, and obviously in due course that will be responded to. But I mean, the idea that you'd have, basically in opposition put in place a law which is a backdoor to undermine our national security, and we wouldn't repeal it, is absurd.
It was a crossbench law. It was
a Labor bill, and we've now repealed that.
Who put it
was a Labor bill, we've now repealed that.
It was a crossbench initiative, and it was backed by the experts, and it was running successfully. But ultimately, I don't know how you can sit here and defend something when you don't know the details behind it, and how can you defend voting for something when you don't know what you voted for, you don't know what the secret deal is.
But also, the government did come back with an increased majority and a mandate from the public. They were very clear that they wanted to repeal Medivac.
What they were clear on during the election was that they didn't want Bill Shorten to be PM. Beyond that, they really don't have any kind of political... They've got a political plan, but they don't have...
I think you should go and ask your constituents what they think about it. I think you'll find they'll be very supportive of...
I don't think you want to go me on talking to constituents, because I think, person for person, on a talking to voters during the election, I'll back my numbers every time over yours.
That's fine. I recommend you go and do it. I think it could be helpful for you. I'm always trying to help you.
32 mobile officers since I've been elected.
I try again.
I have done 32 mobile officers since I have been elected, since this mandate that you're talking about. Not a single person has come to me saying, I want to see Medivac repealed. Not a single person.
But isn't this, that goes to the heart of this issue, though? People want it dealt with. They don't want to hear about it. They want it dealt with. They don't want to talk about it. It's one of those issues where they want border security managed. They think the coalition's better at it, and they don't want to be discussing it. I mean, I would argue now that Labor, for your political prospects, you've dealt with it, you've fought the good fight, but move on, because it's not going to benefit you talking about what is a traditional weakness for you.
I'll always take your political advice, Kieran. Thank you for it. But I think in
It's for
terms
free too.
Sky is a generous place. But this goes to the tenets of our democracy. We cannot have a parliament where debate is gagged, and we cannot have a parliament where bills are passed or repealed because of secret deals.
We don't gag debate. We don't gag debate.
We've been gagging debate for a fortnight. We had something like 30 divisions
We spent
in one
3
day.
days last week talking about the
Wednesday
Ensuring
last week
Integrity
because
Bill.
we gagged debate.
Every single Labor and Green senator spoke about the Ensuring Integrity Bill last week. So
It's an important bill.
you can't say that we gag debate. It's just not true.
On that
I'm
bill,
saying in the House,
but-
he gags them
It's a
all.
very good bill.
you
should
can't
vote for that bill. next time.
I will not be voting for that.
Well, I think you
Well,
should.
if you want it through, you should not dud Jackie Lambie. So whatever arrangement, if there's deal, whatever,
good deal.
however we want to describe it, that it wouldn't be smart politics to be dudding Jackie Lambie because you're going to need her to get that through.
Well, I mean, clearly, like, our Senate leader has done a great job in negotiating with all the crossbenchers over the time, and
Not so great with
It's
ensuring
so
integrity,
voted
though.
it
there's no intention to dud anyone. I mean, I think, you know, these are important policies. Like, wherever we see wrongdoing, we step in. If it's banking, you know, we put in place the banking executive accountability regime. We do a royal commission where we see wrongdoing on malfeasance in relation to
Not super
employee groups
enthusiastic,
or unions. Then we legislate. It's important.
You're looking kind of dead behind the eyes as you say that. I don't believe it.
I don't think I'm dead.
He looks great.
That's
No,
most unfair.
but on the Ensuring Integrity Bill, this is obviously it's been a situation where for Labor, for Anthony Albanese, it was internally a good thing because obviously the unions have been quite annoyed over the treatment of Setka, but the fact is you're still essentially defending some of the militant unions who have been breaching laws and remain in place, senior officials like John Setka. Is that tenable?
Well, all of the examples that are being rolled out about criminal behaviour are covered by the criminal codes of the state. So where there is criminal act, they are accountable to the criminal laws
But
of
they're still,
each state.
yeah, that's true, but they're still leaders in these unions. The whole point is that once you've had a breach of that sort, you should be punted. Like Hartzer, he's gone, and you make these comparisons with the corporate world, he's gone, Setka's still there.
I don't know if the corporate world has enough people going on that basis. The laws that the government seek to introduce for unions are far stricter than any laws they've ever sought to introduce for business
That's
leaders
not
or
true.
political leaders. Unions are
Wrong.
the smoke alarms trying to raise us from our slumber that the economy is going wrong. Workers need unions to defend them when wage growth is as low as it is, wage theft is as rife as it is, and where 1 in 6 people are looking for more work. And that this government is trying to take away the eyes and the ears of working people right when they need it most. And we know they're doing this as part of a 2-phase plan. Phase 1 is remove the eyes and ears of working people, and phase 2 is going after their wages and conditions. It's work choices going back again, and I'm not going to stand for it, and you should be ashamed if that's...
Like unions are basically isolationists. They're against trade deals, they're against tax cuts, they're against any measure to increase the productivity of the economy. So you think you're taking economic advice from them?
Unions are
You're going
childcare
to.
workers and cleaners and teachers.
I just think
firefighters.
like you're owned by the union, so it makes sense that you do their bidding. But I think clearly
Well,
like the
because I'm owned by
CFMEU.
childcare workers and teachers and nurses and
But you're
firefighters,
defending
yes, I
Setka and the
represent their views in the
CFMEU, who they treat the court penalties like speeding tickets, and you
To be
want to
fair,
defend that.
So do banks. I mean, what
We've
are we
thrown
up
the
to
book
with
at the banks.
compensation?
We've thrown the book at the
You've said
banks.
$1 billion.
We have tougher penalties in place for banking executives.
23 million breaches from
We have-
Westpac, and you've said it's a matter for the board.
We have tougher penalties in place for banking executives than we would under
Which
the Ensuring
only gets
Integrity Bill
enacted if
for
the
union
bank
officials.
doesn't respond. So the bank gets the chance to actually
First
manage
they
it
can-
in-house, and then they can trigger it.
Longer custodial
Unions don't
sentences,
get that.
heavier financial penalties under the BEAR regime compared to what would be in place under the Ensuring Integrity regime.
We're going to wrap. Andrew Bragg,
We'll
Anika
keep
Wells,
talking outside.
carry on outside. We'll talk to you next week. That's Anika Wells and